At 5:12 local time, the sea is flat, the horizon is clear, and inside the Combat Information Center of a U.S. Navy destroyer sailing a few miles ahead of a carrier strike group, the radar picture suddenly shifts. Two new contacts appear. They are fast, high above the water, and coming in from the north. The Spy 1D radar picks them up at once. At first, the returns are small, but with each sweep, they grow stronger. A tracking officer leans toward the screen. Two fast movers bearing 034. No transponder, no identification code, no civilian flight plan. Just two aircraft moving quickly over open ocean. Range, 178 nautical miles. Inside the CIC, the lights are low, the air is cool, and everything feels tightly controlled. No one raises a voice, no alarms break the silence, but everyone at their station knows exactly what comes next. The tracks are tagged, speed is calculated, Mach 1.6. That alone rules out normal commercial traffic. The officer of the watch gives a calm order: track and classify. The next radar sweep adds more detail. The aircraft are flying at around 40,000 feet, holding close formation, heading straight toward the carrier strike group. No change in course, no radio call, just speed, direction, and clear intent. The destroyer sends out the first radio call on International Guard frequencies. Unidentified aircraft approaching U.S. naval formation. This is a United States Navy warship. Identify yourself and state your intentions. The message disappears into empty sky. No answer. Back on the carrier, deck crews continue routine operations in the hangar bay. Two FA-18E Super Hornets sit on alert, engines cold but ready. Sailors move across the flight deck with no idea that 170 miles away, something is closing in fast. Inside the destroyer's CIC, the radar teams keep watching. Range, 160 miles. The strike group commander receives the update immediately through the tactical data network, linking every ship and aircraft in the formation. There is no panic, only a single instruction passed over secure communications. Monitor, do not escalate. Another radar sweep sharpens the picture. The radar cross-section looks larger than expected for standard fighters. The air search controller narrows his eyes. Possible twin-engine platform. That assessment pushes the next step into motion. An E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft is ordered into the air. On the carrier's flight deck, the large turboprop rolls into position. Its radar dome catches the early morning light before the catapult throws it into the sky. Within minutes, the Hawkeye is climbing above the strike group, its radar scanning hundreds of miles of airspace. It quickly locks onto the two contacts. Altitude confirmed, 40,000 feet, speed unchanged. Course steady, still inbound. Inside the Hawkeye, mission crew members begin analyzing electronic emissions from the unknown aircraft. Seconds later, a technician speaks. Radar signature detected. The waveform does not match civilian databases, but military analysts recognize it immediately. Flanker family radar. That means the aircraft are not civilian. They are fighters. Another scan confirms the profile. Wide wingspan, twin engines, heavy radar emissions. The Hawkeye passes the assessment across the strike group network. Possible Su-35. Inside the destroyer's CIC, no one reacts outwardly, but every sailor understands the significance. The Sukhoi Su-35 is not a surveillance platform. It is a long-range air superiority fighter capable of carrying anti-ship missiles built to threaten ships as large as an aircraft carrier. Range, 120 miles. The carrier strike group quietly shifts formation. Two destroyers move slightly farther ahead of the carrier's course. A cruiser tightens its defensive arc. Electronic warfare systems come online across the group, scanning for targeting signals. Still no response from the approaching aircraft, no identification, no change in course. At 100 miles, the Hawkeye detects something new. Infrared sensors spot hardpoints beneath the wings of both fighters, external stores, missiles. For several seconds, the strike group command channel goes silent while analysts verify the picture. 4 pylons, large missile shapes. Anti-ship weapons are considered highly likely, and the two aircraft are still heading straight for the U.S. carrier. Inside the CIC, the tactical display now tells a simple story. 100,000 tons of American steel moving through open water, and two Iranian-operated Su-35 fighters closing the gap. Fast, deliberate, and fully armed. At 5:24 local time, the aircraft are 82 nautical miles from the strike group. Their speed remains steady at Mach 1.6. Their course still has not changed. High above the fleet, the E-2D Hawkeye continues to orbit, its APY-9 radar refreshing the tactical picture in real time across hundreds of miles of sky. Two tracks dominate the display. Fast, intentional, closing. Then the Hawkeye crew notices a change in altitude. The lead aircraft drops first, descending from 40,000 feet to 25,000. Seconds later, the second aircraft follows. Lower altitude reduces radar visibility and improves launch geometry. Inside the destroyer's CIC, the Air Defense Coordinator spots the pattern at once. Altitude change confirmed. Another operator studies the geometry. They're splitting. The two aircraft separate slightly. One climbs back toward 30,000 feet. The other drops again to 18,000. Now the maneuver creates a broad attack angle, a classic pincer approach. From the strike group's perspective, that means two possible missile vectors instead of one. At this distance, that difference matters. The Hawkeye updates the entire formation. Two Su-35s confirmed, possible anti-ship loadout. The message moves instantly through the Navy's Cooperative Engagement Capability Network. Every ship in the group now sees the same tactical picture. Two red symbols drawing closer without hesitation. On the carrier's flight deck, the alert fighters are no longer standing by. Steam erupts from the catapult. Two FA-18E Super Hornets launch into the morning sky. Call signs, Raptor 1 and Raptor 2. Their mission is simple: intercept. The two fighters accelerate immediately after launch, climbing hard toward the incoming threat. Back in the Hawkeye, electronic surveillance operators continue monitoring emissions from the Su-35s. Then something changes. A sharp spike appears on the spectrum display. Radar energy, but not search radar. One of the Iranian fighters has switched modes. Inside the destroyer's CIC, the electronic warfare officer speaks in a calm voice. Fire control radar active. That changes everything. Search radar scans broad sections of sky. Fire control radar locks onto a specific target, and that means only one thing. The aircraft is preparing to employ a weapon. The Hawkeye confirms the signal and relays it across the strike group. Possible targeting radar detected. Distance to fleet, 60 miles. The carrier strike group does not fire, not yet. But the defensive network wakes up quietly. The Aegis combat systems aboard two destroyers assign tracking solutions to the incoming aircraft. Missile cells below deck shift from standby to armed. Surface-to-air interceptors are ready. Above the ocean, Raptor 1 and Raptor 2 keep closing. Their radars sweep forward and quickly acquire the contacts. Two large returns, twin-engine aircraft exactly where the Hawkeye predicted. The intercept is on track. The distance between the American fighters and the Su-35s is dropping fast. 30 miles, 25. But the Iranian aircraft continue forward. No turnaway, no hesitation. Then another signal appears. Infrared sensors catch a brief flash beneath the wing of the lower Su-35. Just a flicker, but unmistakable. A weapon system is powering on. The destroyer's CIC receives the update instantly. Missile guidance radar. That means the anti-ship weapon is no longer simply mounted under the wing. It is now ready to launch. Inside the strike group command center, no one says a word for several seconds. Every eye is fixed on the tactical display. Distance, 45 nautical miles. At that range, some anti-ship missiles could reach the fleet in under a minute after launch. The American intercept fighters are still closing, but they are not yet in firing position. The Su-35s hold their attack geometry, one high, one low, two separate approach angles. Across the destroyers, electronic warfare systems begin sending jamming signals into the sky, testing the guidance systems of the incoming fighters. The sea is still calm. The horizon is still empty, but now every second matters. The signals ripple silently through the air, but the Su-35s keep coming. 38 miles. Then the Hawkeye operator catches something on the infrared feed. A slight movement under the wing, a missile shifting on its rail. Inside the destroyer's CIC, the Air Defense Coordinator speaks in a low, steady voice. Stand by. Aegis begins assigning intercept calculations automatically. Surface-to-air missiles below deck are now fully matched to their firing solutions. The Super Hornets are only moments away from weapons range, but the Iranian fighters have already reached theirs. 32 miles. Then a sudden flash bursts beneath the wing of the lead Su-35, 5:31 local time. The flash lasts less than a second, but every sensor across the carrier strike group catches it. Infrared satellites, airborne warning sensors, shipboard radar. Inside the destroyer's combat information center, the tactical display updates at once. A new object appears. Small, fast, descending. Missile launch confirmed. The Air Defense Coordinator does not raise his voice. Missile inbound. The weapon drops cleanly from the Su-35's wing, and its booster ignites. A bright plume forms behind it as the missile surges away from the fighter. Within seconds, it angles down toward the ocean surface. Sea skimming profile, built to disappear into radar clutter just above the waves. Its speed climbs rapidly, Mach 3. At that pace, it covers roughly a mile every 2 seconds. Distance to the strike group, 28 nautical miles. Estimated time to impact under 40 seconds. Inside the CIC, the room remains dim and controlled. No one makes a sudden move, but every operator shifts into the final phase of air defense procedure. Condition 1. The highest alert state a naval vessel can reach. On the tactical display, the missile streaks toward the heart of the formation. The carrier. The destroyer's Aegis system computes an intercept solution automatically. Radar arrays hold the incoming missile in continuous track while the combat system selects the best defensive option. Solution confirmed. A single command appears on the fire control console. Engage. Below deck, armored hatches slide open over the vertical launch system. One cell ignites. An SM-6 interceptor blasts upward in a pillar of flame and smoke. It clears the launch tube, rolls hard toward the horizon, and accelerates beyond Mach 3 within seconds. Now 2 missiles are racing over the ocean toward each other, one built to kill ships, the other built to kill missiles. But the attack is not over. High above the engagement zone, the second Su-35 begins its move. The aircraft banks just enough to create a fresh firing angle. Infrared sensors catch the exact moment. Another flash. Second missile launch. This one takes a slightly different path, dropping fast until it is flying barely 15 feet above the water. Even lower, even harder to see, even harder to stop. Inside the CIC, 2 separate threat tracks now appear. Missile 1, Missile 2, 2 attack paths converging on the strike group from different directions. The air defense coordinator gives the next order. Assign second intercept. A nearby cruiser receives the command automatically through the linked Aegis network. Another launch cell ignites. An ESSM interceptor punches into the sky. Now 3 missiles cut through the morning air. 2 defensive interceptors, 2 inbound weapons. The first interception happens fast. Guided by continuous tracking from the destroyer's phased array radar, the SM-6 tears across the sky. The computers refine the solution dozens of times each second. 2 miles, 1 mile, half a mile. Then a flash erupts above the water. The first anti-ship missile breaks apart in a violent blast as the interceptor detonates beside it. Fragments scatter through the air and fall into the sea. Inside the CIC, the radar track disappears. First threat neutralized, but the second missile is still coming, and it is flying much lower. At only 15 feet above the surface, the weapon blends into the radar clutter created by waves and spray. For a few seconds, it nearly vanishes from the scopes. Then the destroyer's sensors pick it up again. Range, 7 miles. Time to impact, less than 12 seconds. At that distance, the window for long-range interceptors is almost gone. The next defensive layer responds automatically. On the deck of a nearby destroyer, the Phalanx close-in weapon system comes alive. The turret swings toward the horizon. Its radar locks onto the incoming target instantly. Tracking solution complete. The 6-barrel gun begins spinning faster and faster until it reaches full firing rate, 4,500 rounds per minute. Inside the CIC, the tactical display shows the missile racing straight at the strike group. 6 miles, 5, 4. The CIWS radar holds a perfect lock. 3 miles, 2, then it fires. A continuous stream of 20mm rounds rips from the rotating barrels, creating a dense wall of metal directly in the missile's path. For one brief instant, the horizon disappears into tracer fire and smoke. The missile flies straight into it, and the sky erupts. 5:32 local time. The blast flashes over the ocean just beyond the outer defensive ring of the carrier strike group. The anti-ship missile vanishes in a violent burst of fire and debris as it collides with the stream of 20mm rounds from the Phalanx system. For a split second, the sky turns white. Then dark fragments rain into the water. Inside the Combat Information Center, the radar track collapses. The second threat disappears from the display. Second missile destroyed. The strike group has survived the attack. But the situation is not over yet. High above the fleet, the 2 Iranian Su-35s are still in the air. And now they have a new problem. The American interceptors have arrived. Raptor 1 and Raptor 2 streak toward the Iranian fighters at more than Mach 1.2, climbing through scattered clouds as they close the last few miles. Inside the cockpit of Raptor 1, the radar display shows 2 large contacts directly ahead. Range, 9 miles. The pilot locks onto the lead Su-35. Target confirmed. A steady tone fills the headset. Lock achieved. Across the sky, the Iranian fighter's radar warning receiver erupts. The Su-35 pilot reacts instantly, rolling hard right and pulling into a tight defensive turn in an attempt to shake the lock. But the American fighters are already inside engagement range. Inside Raptor 1, the weapons officer confirms the firing solution. Fox 3, an AIM-120AM RAAM leaves the Super Hornet's wing. Its motor ignites immediately, driving the missile forward at extreme speed as it climbs toward the retreating Su-35. In the final phase, the missile guides on its own active radar. The Iranian pilot throws out countermeasures. Flares burst behind the aircraft in bright clusters. chaff spreads through the air, trying to break the missile's tracking. The Su-35 pulls into a violent maneuver, climbing hard and rolling to change direction. The missile closes fast, 2 miles, 1 mile, then a sudden detonation. The AMRAAM explodes close behind the fighter. The blast does not bring the aircraft down, but it is enough to force the pilot to break off completely. Across the tactical network, the second Super Hornet locks onto the other Su-35. The Iranian formation falls apart immediately. The higher aircraft dives sharply. The lower one accelerates north. Both fighters push their speed higher, Mach 1.8. They are no longer moving toward the carrier strike group. They are leaving it. Inside the destroyer's CIC, the tactical display confirms the shift. 2 hostile tracks turning away, distance increasing. The American fighters stay on them for several more minutes, keeping radar locked to make sure the Iranian aircraft do not attempt another run. But the Su-35 pilots have already made their choice. They disengage. Their aircraft continue accelerating north across open ocean. Eventually, their radar signatures shrink and fade beyond the reach of the Hawkeye's sensors. 5:38 local time. Threats cleared. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tension finally begins to ease. Operators verify the final radar logs. 2 missiles launched, 2 missiles destroyed. No damage to the carrier. No ship in the strike group takes any damage. On the carrier's flight deck, sailors who watch the distant blasts soon return to their normal rhythm. Jets keep landing. More aircraft launch. The massive ship never turns away and never changes speed during the entire incident. It simply keeps moving across the ocean, steady and controlled. 100,000 tons of steel and nuclear power protected by a defensive system built for moments exactly like this. High above the fleet, the Hawkeye continues its orbit, radar sweeping the horizon again, listening and searching, because the strike group understands something important. Those 2 Iranian Su-35 pilots did not cross hundreds of miles of open water by mistake. They arrived armed. They launched weapons. And even though the attack failed, they exposed something even more valuable: data. Back inside the carrier's intelligence center, analysts are already replaying every second of the encounter. 6:10 local time. The ocean is calm again. From the carrier's flight deck, the horizon looks almost unchanged from an hour earlier. Blue water, clear sky, the long white wake of a 100,000-ton warship cutting through open sea. To anyone looking from the outside, nothing unusual would seem to have happened. But inside the intelligence center, the atmosphere is completely different. Every sensor recording from the last 30 minutes is being reviewed. Radar logs, electronic emissions, infrared signatures. Nothing is overlooked because the 2 Iranian Su-35 fighters that just attempted the strike left behind something extremely useful: a complete electronic picture of how they operate. From the moment the first Su-35 radar signal appeared, the strike group's electronic warfare systems began capturing everything the aircraft transmitted. Every radar pulse, every targeting signal, every shift in waveform as the pilots changed radar modes. Inside the intelligence center, a technician moves through the recordings frame by frame. Search radar patterns, fire control radar, missile guidance frequencies. Each one is like a fingerprint. And now the U.S. Navy has all of them. Across the tactical network, electronic warfare officers aboard the destroyers and cruiser have already uploaded their recordings into the carrier's analysis system. Multiple sensors, multiple angles, clean triangulation. Together, they build a highly detailed profile of the Iranian Su-35's combat systems. Radar output power, scan patterns, lock-on timing, missile activation signals, even the short electronic spike that appeared seconds before the anti-ship missile was launched. All of it is now stored. That matters because the next time a Su-35 shows up on radar anywhere in the world, American systems may be able to recognize it almost instantly. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tactical display now shows empty ocean. No hostile tracks, no incoming missile warnings. The strike group has already returned to normal operating posture, but the crew understands the bigger picture. This was not only a failed attack, it was also an intelligence opportunity, and chances like that rarely appear under real combat pressure. Far above the fleet, the E-2D Hawkeye stays on patrol. Its radar continues sweeping across hundreds of miles of airspace, checking for any sign that the Iranian fighters might return. Nothing appears. The 2 Su-35s are gone, likely heading back toward Iranian airspace at high speed. For the pilots who launched the attack, the result may already be obvious. Their weapons never reached the target. Their aircraft were intercepted, and their radar emissions were recorded the entire time. Back aboard the carrier, analysts keep working through the recordings. The anti-ship missile launch sequence receives especially close attention. The infrared footage shows the exact instant the missile drops from the Su-35's wing. Radar logs capture the guidance system coming alive. For a few brief seconds, the missile's onboard radar scans the ocean ahead. Those signals were captured too. Now they can be studied, measured, and modeled for future encounters. That kind of information could allow defensive systems to identify and counter the same weapon even faster next time. Out on the flight deck, the sound of jet engines cuts through the morning air. A pair of Super Hornets returns from patrol. They descend smoothly toward the carrier and catch the arresting wires with practiced precision. Seconds later, they are clear of the landing area. Routine operations continue. The carrier never stops, never slows, never leaves its course. For the sailors on board, the entire clash lasted less than 10 minutes. 2 missiles launched, 2 missiles destroyed, 2 hostile fighters forced to withdraw. But the true result of the encounter is unfolding quietly inside the carrier's intelligence center. Because every radar pulse, every electronic signal, and every maneuver made by those Su-35 fighters has now been captured and archived. And that information will travel far beyond this one strike group. It will move through the Navy's intelligence network, into training systems, into defensive software, and into the next generation of air and missile defense planning. Which means the Iranian pilots who tried to strike a U.S. aircraft carrier ended up doing something they never intended. They showed the U.S. Navy exactly how their aircraft fights. And in modern naval warfare, that kind of knowledge can be just as valuable as what happens in the sky itself. Out on the open ocean, the carrier strike group keeps moving forward. Radar still turning, jets still launching, ships still in formation, watching, waiting. Because the next encounter may come without warning, and when it does, the fleet will already have a clearer idea of what is coming.